Welcome to Negative Art Productions. You have come here and watched this video because it's either come up on your feed or you want to hear about something. It's something very specific. Something that someone should only talk about if they're interested in them. It's one of those things. You can't just half-ass your way through it. So I'm going to talk about my favorite story, a ghost story. Welcome back. If you'll notice, I have some candles lit in the background. Is it dramatic and cool? I really hope it's dramatic and cool. So tonight is going to be a third story about, some changes and some developments, and I want to go a little bit more in depth. So if you're here, thank you. If you want to get a little bit of background, you can watch the first two videos to give a detailed setting. I'm still going to give a detailed setting here. So this isn't necessarily like you have to watch the first two to understand, but watch the first two videos. They should be up here. And I'll have a link to both of them if I can figure out how to do that. So let's just jump right in. Growing up in the suburbs of St. Paul, the suburb was White Bear Lake, and it's a beautiful place. You want to look it up. The backstory of how the place got its name is actually, I think, a lot to do with the happenings that I had. And I'm not going to get into it. In the area, there was a lot of activity always going on. You have to imagine you have a yard, 0.75 acres, pretty big. So you start at the street and you go to the back, and that's almost a full acre in Minnesota, very close to where the country starts, north of the cities. So this is where cliche Minnesota begins, and I'm right there at the edge, and we're technically in the township. And I think that has a lot to do with it, is the location. So there was always noise that we would hear and very frightening sounds that could definitely be explained, and not even in the way that skeptics do, like, oh, that's just some raccoons fighting. No, it actually was. It was typically what we would hear is raccoon fights and things like that. So we were used to hearing really high-pitched screams. If you've ever heard animals fight, they whine a lot. It's terrifying. If you don't know what you're listening to, it could be interpreted as ghosts. The ghosts are screaming. It's a banshee. And that's probably what people way back in the day thought banshees were. Not that I'm disproving banshees. I'm just saying I think that a lot of superstition and supernatural beliefs are rooted in our world elemental beings, right? Animals, just howling winds, things like that. We right away as people associate it with crazy things because that's what we wanted, and that's what people continue to look for out of life is bigger picture, more meaning, and I think that's where it starts. So I am a very sensitive person, and I always have been, and I'm a very spiritual person. To give a little background, I think I've talked about this before, but if you haven't heard it, I had a near-death experience when I was very young, 5 years old. And since then, I've always been very sensitive to it. So where that comes into play, I think, is this story. We had talked about the guy a lot. Friends, family, and it had become infamous during the summer of 2003. And in that time, you would talk to your friends, and you're a 13-year-old boy. You're used to people bullshitting. So right away, if someone told you that, you'd be like, you're full of shit. But what happened is, my friend had a dream about it the night it happened, called me the next day. After that, he told his close friends. He had switched school districts, so he was a little farther away, and he had told his close friends about the guy, and they said, oh my God, I saw the guy too. And so it just became known amongst the Wiper Lake and Montemita teenagers around my age at that time. That was not my phone. So, sorry about that. It's not my phone, it's not my problem. So it had become infamous, and so people were talking about it and seeing it. This girl had a story where she was by the railroad tracks, which if you look at the last video, I talked about the corner where we first saw it, and they were near there, off of the same street by the railroad tracks, and they had been looking for a CD. This is back in the day of CDs, so they had looked down, come up, and there was just the guy standing at the window, so they sped the fuck off. And it was going around, so people knew about it, and I think that was giving it more energy. And this was back before social media was really heavily followed. It used to be more for fun and not necessarily like it is now, where it's almost a part of everyone's ritual, including myself. But this is before that, where it wasn't really a lifestyle thing. So this was word of mouth specifically. This wasn't social media rallied or anything like that. So you have to understand how difficult it was to spread things word of mouth and get them to be interesting. So that's what had happened. And so it got interesting, and I think all of that buzz could have potentially given it more relevance and presence to where it had existed. Still could exist to this day. I'm going to be honest. It's been a long time. And I don't want to put that out there, but it's been a long time since I've seen them. And I'll explain many stories down the road, but you'll hear why if you continue watching. So my friends were over, and it's still, it's a couple months in. So basically think about spring semester, fall semester, or it had been spring. Yeah, it was fall. It was right before, right before the fall semester. I'm so bad. Time doesn't make any sense the last 3 years, does it? If you can get dates right in the year 2023, you're a fucking wizard living among us. Anyway, so you're going to hear that a lot from me, I swear. It's just what you're going to hear. It was the fall of 2003, and right before school started. So we had told everyone about it, and the setup of all of the yards, and I'm going to be talking about this a lot, and so if you think I'm getting too far into the weeds, we had Roundup. Horrible joke. You're going to hear a lot of those too. So it's important that I explain the setup of the yards. They were basically just really long, like 0.75 acres, about, 200 feet wide, so pretty big. Everyone had pretty big yards in the suburbs. So you had neighbors, but they weren't like it is in the city, in St. Paul. They're not on top of you. You're quite far apart. So you would kind of go in their yard, they'd go in your yard. It wouldn't be a big thing. Who really cared, except for the crazy jerk neighbors? So we were having friends over, and at the time, airsoft was really big if you were a 13-year-old boy. And we had airsoft guns, and we were going to wait for our other friend to come, my brother's friend, but we all became friends anyway, not getting in the weeds of that. So we were waiting for them to come, and all the yards are, they go very far. So we're halfway to my parents' backyard over on the east side of the yard, and it's dark. And so we had this great plan that we were going to wait by the side of the yard, and when he went up to knock on the door, we were going to shoot him with our airsofts. So that was going to be really cool. Shoot him with our airsoft guns. You're 13 and you live in the suburbs. There's nothing going on. That was like the most exciting thing you were going to experience that entire month. If you experienced anything more exciting than that, then your life was way cooler than mine. So we're waiting, and on the side of the yard, we're laughing and thinking about it, and we go. So we go halfway between the yards is almost always where they meet. And so we go to the backyard, and then we go around the corner, and we wait by the garbage cans. And we see him, our friend. So he's walking up, and we take our airsoft guns. If you know about airsoft guns, they hurt, but it's not like deadly or anything like that, and they don't hurt as much as paintball, especially from how far away we were. So we're running, we go away, we head north, go to that midpoint where all the houses meet, and so now I'm in my neighbor's yard, and I'm with my friend, and we're laughing because we had just dealt him with airsoft BBs, and it's so funny. And then this ozone change just set into both of our chests, and we could feel it, and the air got heavy, and we're outside, and this is not quite fall, still late summer, September, and we stopped laughing, and we knew, because for some reason our energy was aimed in this direction, and we both look without saying anything, which is very bizarre because there was no sounds. And that's what I want to make clear in all of these interactions that we had with the guy. Utter silence. So there was nothing that we heard. There was nothing glowing. If anyone ever tells you that they've seen a ghost and it's like the ghost in the Ghostbusters all-female cast, I've never seen that before. I don't think anyone actually has. That's like the super crazy version. I've never seen one like glowing, like I'm glowing right here. No, it's reflective, but it doesn't emit. It reflects, it does not emit. From what I've seen, I'm not the fucking expert. I'm not going to say that I am. Based off of my experience, it never actually glows. There was nothing to catch our eye, so nothing drew us to him. Through a sprinkler that's on, he comes, and like I said, the first things you would see is the silhouette, kind of flowy, very non-defined lines, just lots of grays and blacks. If you think about the color spectrum, gray, black, and the shadows would start forming of the eyes and the mouth, and he was taking form and becoming visual. And he became visual again, almost materialized from compartmentalized energy, like it's somewhere else or not being used at that time, stored, and then starts walking towards us. And it's me and my friend, and we run as fast as we can inside my house. Tell everyone, they think we're screwing with them, and so we all go investigate. We bring our flashlights, bring our airsoft guns. It's my parents' yard. I wasn't running around the streets with airsoft guns or anything. It was still in my parents' yard, and we wanted to see if it was, because that's what everyone always thought, is that it was someone that we knew messing with us, and we never found an actual person. So that was another time it had just shown up, and that's after already hearing weird sounds in that backyard around that neighborhood, just very cold energy around the area. I've had people leave my parents' house and they call me on their cell phone on the ride home, and they say, "My back left window was down." What? Yeah. Someone opened my back left window. And that would always happen. Something would be off with the car. It wouldn't be vandalism or stolen or anything. It would just be something peculiar happened. I've had people have their windows rolled down, things out of place in their car. It could have been someone playing pranks, but we never saw a person. Very, very strange energy around that area. This story already took way longer than I thought, so that's what I wanted to leave you with tonight. I'm going to continue on this, but yeah, just kind of rethinking about everything again. It's weird, because you remember more when you're actually saying it out loud than your internal thoughts. So thanks for watching. I hope you enjoy the stories. I'm going to post these every single week. This was part 3. I will post part 4 next week. please subscribe. Thank you, and have a spooky, ooky night.